In 1980, China's entire economy was smaller than the state of Texas. This chart tracks global economic output after adjusting for what money actually buys locally, a metric called purchasing power parity. By this measure, China's economy quietly surpassed the United States in 2016. There were no public ceremonies. The math simply shifted. If you look at raw dollar totals, the United States still leads by roughly $10 trillion. However, focusing exclusively on that current gap ignores the speed at which the underlying data is converging. Superpowers rarely fail in a single dramatic crash. Instead, decay usually resembles a slow leak in a massive tire. The vehicle continues to move for miles, even as compounding mathematical pressures make it impossible to steer. This is a race for the power to set the global agenda. The country with the dominant economic position dictates the rules of trade, manages the world's reserve currencies, and decides which nations are excluded from the financial system. This chart illustrates the compounding growth rate gap. America's economy typically grows at 2 to 3% annually. China, even during its slowdown, maintains 4 to 5%. On an $18 trillion base, that extra growth allows China to gain over $500 billion on the United States every single year. Currency provides a second engine. As China shifts toward domestic consumption, the yuan is expected to gain value. This means every yuan of Chinese output will convert into more US dollars on the global scoreboard, shrinking the gap even if their industrial output remains steady. Beyond the numbers, China has secured industrial dominance in the new 3 sectors: electric vehicles, lithium batteries, and solar panels. They now control roughly 80% of global solar panel capacity and 3/4 of all battery manufacturing. By dominating these sectors, Beijing is manufacturing the physical hardware that will underpin the global transition to clean energy for the next 30 years. The United States is attempting to maintain its lead while pulling the weight of a $38.5 trillion national debt. High interest rates have turned this borrowing into a mathematical trap, where each new loan increases the cost of past ones. For the first time, the U.S. government is spending more money paying interest on past debt than it spends on the entire national defense budget. Washington is now allocating more capital to yesterday's bills than to today's military protection. Global military dominance creates a constant drain on the Treasury. A single Tomahawk missile costs $2 million. Operating 2 carrier strike groups abroad costs $15 million every day. These costs require more borrowing, which in turn drives up interest payments. Protectionist policies designed to shield American industry have added new friction. Because modern manufacturing is deeply interconnected, high tariffs on Chinese components often raise production costs for U.S. companies, creating supply chain stress rather than a domestic revival. Sudden bankruptcy is unlikely. Instead, the United States faces the gradual evaporation of its budget flexibility as interest payments crowd out its ability to invest in infrastructure and research. China's industrial engine faces its own friction, a collapse in social motivation. A movement has taken hold among the urban workforce, leading many to describe themselves as the no next life generation. Young people are increasingly rejecting the 996 work culture, 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., 6 days a week. Confronted with high housing costs and intense competition, millions are choosing to lie flat, reducing their needs and stepping away from the traditional path to success. This withdrawal directly threatens China's shift toward a consumption-based economy. Growth depends on a middle class that buys cars and homes, yet millions of young adults are delaying marriage and refusing to participate in the consumer race. This cultural shift is occurring alongside a rapid demographic decline. Birth rates remain at record lows while the population ages. By 2050, a shrinking workforce will be burdened with supporting hundreds of millions of retirees and an over-leveraged property sector. China has built the most advanced industrial base in history, but they are struggling to maintain the social belief required to power it. For decades, global finance rested on the US dollar. It served as the default asset for trade and the primary vehicle for global savings. That dominance is now under structural pressure. The combination of a $40 trillion debt trajectory and the frequent use of financial sanctions has made global investors wary of relying on a single political tool for their wealth. China is building an alternative trade network to capitalize on this nervousness. By settling trade in yuan and financing infrastructure across the global south, Beijing is creating a second highway for global commerce that functions independently of the US dollar. Both superpowers are struggling with internal arithmetic. The United States is a powerful mansion staggering under its mortgage and overseas commitments. China is a high-tech factory that is losing its youngest workers. Global leadership will belong to whichever power survives its own internal arithmetic. The outcome of the 21st century rests on adaptation, managing debt, maintaining social confidence, and securing the industries of the future.